So my quest to save money and escape the cost of living crisis has reached its logical conclusion. I've moved my family into this wooden shack on a mangrove on a tropical island in Cambodia. When the cost of living crisis really started to take hold, all I could think of was the possibility of living a simpler life somewhere that wasn't so expensive. And the image I had in my head was either a cabin in the woods or a cabin on some deserted beach somewhere. We actually tried living in a cabin in the woods when we first arrived on this island, but we got eaten alive by mosquitoes and there was no phone signal, so we had to leave. And although there are deserted beaches here on this island, actually staying right on the beach is a lot more expensive, as it turns out, than living right on the mangrove. Who would have thought? So we haven't been living here that long, so I'm not sure exactly how much money we're going to save. But I mean, it's a mangrove, there's not much to buy here, and there's nothing to do that costs any money. So on first impressions, I think we're going to save a lot of money living here. I should say that this plan is only possible because I work online. There's no Wi-Fi here, but there's a very strong phone signal, so I'm able to use my phone data to work. Obviously, if I had a regular 9-to-5 job, then moving to a wooden shack in the middle of a mangrove wouldn't be a possibility. In fact, it would be pretty counterproductive. Also, making money in the UK and spending it here allows me to leverage the relative strength of the British pound. I mean, if I was working in the local economy, it wouldn't be so cheap to live here. I wanted to say that because a lot of YouTubers make these kinds of videos encouraging people to, for example, leave the UK. And they don't acknowledge the fact that most people are stuck where they are because that's where their work is. Obviously, if you're a nurse or something, you can't just up and leave and move to an island. So that being said, if moving to an island is something that you're interested in, I'm planning to track all of our expenses and make a cost of living video. So if you want to see that video, then please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. In lieu of that video, I can tell you how we got here and how much that cost. So prior to living on this island, we lived in Siem Reap, and we lived there for 8 months. Siem Reap is landlocked, so the first thing we had to do was head to the coast. We took a private taxi from Siem Reap to Phnom Penh, and that cost $80. This is normally the point in the video where everyone starts commenting how expensive that is and how much we could have saved if we just took the bus. That would be the case if I was by myself, but for a family of 3, a one-way trip on the bus from Siem Reap to Phnom Penh would have cost $50, and then we would have had to pay taxi fares to and from the bus station. So in the end, we only would have saved $20. We stayed overnight in Phnom Penh to break up the trip to the coast, and the hotel cost $30. It was close to the Royal Palace, room was really big, and they gave us a free drinks voucher to use at the rooftop bar, which was nice. So overall, I'd recommend that place. From Phnom Penh, we headed to Sihanoukville, which is where the ferry port is, and that took about 3 hours. Much to my surprise, this part of the trip actually ended up costing me more than the Siem Reap to Phnom Penh part of the trip, even though it's a shorter distance. And the reason is because the new road linking Phnom Penh and Sihanoukville has a $12 toll each way. So the taxi for that part of the trip cost me $100. If we'd taken the bus from Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville, it would have cost us only $50, plus taxi transfers to the port. The ferry company that we used was called GTVC, and the ticket cost us $14 one way. All of the ferry companies charge the same as mandated by the government. Taking the ferry here was a little bit chaotic. There's no system in place, for example, to tag the bags, and there's also no assigned seating. But it wasn't as bad as what some of the reviews made me believe. And if you don't have an exact time that you're expecting to leave, you can just go with the flow, and it's honestly not that bad. So why did we choose this island aside from the cost? Well, my wife actually wanted to move to Love Island. But I felt that it wasn't a suitable environment for our 6-year-old daughter, so I vetoed that idea. I wanted to go to Epstein's Island. There's so many YouTube videos about Epstein's Island that I assume it must be really nice. But it turns out you have to fly private to get there, and that would have cost a small fortune, kind of defeating the purpose of moving to the island in the first place. So in the end, we compromised and just went to the nearest island. Actually choosing what to bring to the island wasn't easy. I knew it would be difficult to find things once we were here. I found a camping store in Siem Reap that import camping equipment from China, and honestly I got a bit carried away. I bought almost everything they had. Here's all the stuff we brought and how much it cost. In anticipation of power cuts, I bought a couple of these portable fans that can be charged with a USB cable, and I bought a light that can also be charged. I also bought a torch because this island is infested with snakes and it's important that we see where we're walking at night. There are also a lot of mosquitoes and sandflies here, so we stocked up on mosquito coils, mosquito repellent, and I read that coconut oil helps repel sandflies, so I got a bottle of coconut oil. And I got a big knife. It just seemed like something I should buy, but honestly I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. There are palm trees everywhere, so maybe I can use it to open up coconuts. To cook food, I bought a camping stove. It takes these gas cylinders, which we'll be able to exchange on the island once we've used them. I got a Zippo style lighter, and I also got a giant bottle of lighter fluid. I bought a cooking set, which includes a kettle and a pot and pan. I bought a pour over coffee filter and a couple of these homemade mugs and about 2 kilograms of coffee. I got the coffee from a coffee roaster in Siem Reap called SYT & Sons, and it's really good, so I'm hoping that they'll agree to ship some to the island once I've run out. It's great to be able to wake up here and make my own coffee out on the balcony overlooking the mangrove, and it's also a lot cheaper than buying coffee from a coffee shop. There's so many chickens on the island. Honestly, it seems like there's more chickens than people here, so eggs are readily available and I can cook them out here on the balcony as well. We also took quite a lot of medication here with us. It's a tropical environment and it's easy to get sick here. Stomach problems are common as well as infections. You don't need a prescription to buy drugs in Cambodia. You just turn up to the pharmacy and they will give you whatever you want. Now, I'm not technically a doctor and I don't have any medical training, but nevertheless, I took the liberty and prescribed us a bunch of medication. Here's a list of medication that we got and how much I paid for them. There were a couple of drugs that I normally take personally that I couldn't find here, so I'm going to have to wean myself off Ozempic and Viagra. Obviously our lives have changed somewhat since we've been living here, but honestly my life hasn't really changed that much. I spend most of my morning drinking coffee, same routine, surroundings are obviously a little bit different. We get around the island by scooter, much as we did before. Roads are a bit different. View's a bit nicer. There's no gym in this particular village, so I'm trying to run on the beach most days and do some exercise on the porch, just so I don't completely fall apart while living here. We're still homeschooling our daughter, and to be honest, she pretty much adapts to any circumstance that she finds herself in. One of the benefits of being 6 years old. Just before we moved here, we went to a bookshop and stocked up on activity books to help us teach her to read and write. So she's busy doing that most days. The only potential downside for her is that a lot of the time she's isolated from other kids her own age. There are other kids in the village, but they don't really speak English, so communication can be an issue. It's crazy just how good she's getting at entertaining herself. For example, recently she tied a rope to the end of a water bottle, and she's telling everyone that it's her pet iguana. I think it's time that we find her a friend. She really enjoyed the swimming classes she was doing in Siem Reap, so I'm doing my best to continue this on the island. Obviously, swimming in the sea is a bit more challenging sometimes than swimming in a pool because of the waves, but she's getting used to it. Overall, I spend most of my time with her teaching her conspiracy theories. Right now, I'm teaching her that the Earth is flat and that space is fake, and next week I'm going to start teaching her that birds aren't real. My wife is struggling a little bit with all of this. She thinks I'm having some sort of midlife crisis, but she's definitely doing better now than when we first arrived. I mean, as well as can be expected under the circumstances. It's not like she grew up dreaming that one day she would live in a wooden shack in the middle of a mangrove. Her dream was to live in Paris. So if you're watching this and you're thinking that all of this seems a bit insane and maybe I've lost my mind, here's something to consider. All over the world right now, living standards for ordinary people are falling. The middle class is disappearing, and soon we will all be replaced by robots. One day, in the not too distant future, everyone, except for a few billionaires, will be living in wooden shacks just like me. When that happens, I hope you admit to yourself that you were wrong. I wasn't crazy. I was just the first.